Hi, welcome to Joseph's Reserves. I'm Joseph, and today we have a pretty cool video for you. I just got this US typeset coin for the 20th and 21st century, and I've laid out each of the coins that I'm wanting to add to this book. So we're going to go through and take a look at each one. So in case you are unfamiliar with what a typeset is or typeset includes, a typeset shows an example of each major type of the collection. So that includes each denomination and each design change, whether that is a design change in composition or a design change in the actual design on the coin. So for example, here in the small cents, we start off with the Indian cent because this book starts at the 20th century, so 1900. The Indian cent, we have a wheat cent example. The steel cent, even though it's the same design as the wheat cent, it is a different composition. And that's also shown here in the two memorial cents. There's a spot for copper and for zinc. Then we have the 2009 bicentennial and the shield cent that started in 2010. The book then continues to show 5-cent nickels and dimes down there at the bottom. I like this album because you can actually see the reverse of the coin as well. Then we'll move on to quarters. The one I actually ordered went all the way up to the 2025 women's quarters, but they sent me this book instead. So I may be receiving a different page or maybe even an entirely different book, but we'll figure that out when we get there. We then have the half dollars. I like this one in particular because it includes a spot for the 90% Kennedy and the 40% Kennedy coins, as well as the bicentennial, and then continues on after that. I wish it was the same for the Eisenhower dollars, but there's only 2 slots for Eisenhower and then the bicentennial. But this one also does go all the way through to the newer modern dollars, so the Susan B. Anthony, Sacagawea, the presidential dollars, the Native American dollars, and even the American Innovation dollars. So let's go ahead and start with our small cents. All right, I have them all laid out here. Let's go ahead and take a look at each one, and then I'll show you what they all look like in the book. So here I have, not only is it the best example Indian cent that I own, but this is actually the only 1900s Indian cent that I have. This is a 1905. You can see a lot of the feather details, a full liberty. There's a little bit of a green mark and some gunk on it. The reverse here, you still have quite a lot of detail in the wreath and on the shield. This is a pretty good example. I will be upgrading this, but this is what I have for now. Next, this is the earliest date nice example of a wheat cent that I have. This is a 1949. I know the 40s and 50s are quite common, but this is just the nicest one I have, and again, I'll be upgrading this later. But this is not too bad of a coin itself either. Then we have the steel cent. This is a pretty poor example. This is the only one I have that's not preoccupied in another book or another collection. But even those ones are not great either. I have here the 1943 Denver. And it's just a pretty standard but beat up steel cent. Then I have here the copper memorial cent. Again, this is the earliest date BU one that I've been able to find. This one I actually found coin roll hunting, so that's pretty awesome. This one will be going into our book. Then, since I actually just returned all my coins, all the zinc coins I found in the last penny hunt, this was the only nice memorial cent that I could find. It's not great, but it's decent. So I'll be thinking more about what exact year I want to put there, and I'm sure I could find a nice shiny example of anyone that I want to put in that slot. Here I have the best example of my favorite design of the 2009. I like this one because it shows Lincoln's full body, and it's kind of the forefront of the design is Lincoln. The other ones, the log cabin doesn't show Lincoln at all. The formative years does show Lincoln's full body, but he's just a very small figure standing next to the buildings. And then the presidential year doesn't show Lincoln at all. So this one is definitely my favorite, featuring Lincoln on both sides. And then as for the shield cents, I decided to go with the 2017. I could easily go by, say, a proof or the reverse proof of 2018. There's even a enhanced 2017 uncirculated, right? I could easily go by these, but I wanted to use coins that I could find coin roll hunting. That way they actually have been in circulation. So I'll go ahead and put these all in the book, and I'll let you see what they look like in there. Alright, so here we have these small cents in the book. So as you can see, the Indian cent, wheat cent, steel cent, memorial cents, the 2009, and the shield cent. So I think they look absolutely amazing in here. Let's go ahead and take a look at the reverse. They're all obviously upside down, but those look pretty good. Alright, let's move on to these nickels. Alright, I've got these nickels laid out, so let's go ahead and take a close look. Here I have a Liberty nickel or a V nickel. Again, we're going for after 1900. So this is the best example one that I have that is after the 1900s. It was between this one and one other one. This is a 1906. You can see a partial Liberty and some hair details. On the reverse, still had the full bead around the coin, clear words, and lots of detail still in the wreath around the V. So that's the Liberty nickel we're going with. Here I have a 1937 Buffalo nickel. Again, this was the best detailed one I have. I only have 4 of these, so we will be getting a lot more soon, and I'm sure I'll be upgrading pretty soon. Not in great condition, especially for the year, but it's the one I have. Then for the Jefferson nickels, I was wanting to do a definitely a 40s or a 30s coin. The only 30s one that I have is a 1939, which is a very common date, so I didn't want to put that in this book. So I have this 1940s from San Francisco. It's somewhat of a semi-key date, definitely a lower mintage. So this is the one that we're going to be putting in our book. After that, the war nickels. This is a 1944 from San Francisco. This is actually the lowest mintage war nickel, is this 1944 from San Francisco. So I happen to have an extra one of these. This is the better condition one that I have, so it's going in our book. Next up is an example of the Westward bicentennial design. I'm going with a 2005 because I wanted to make sure I had the change in the obverse. The 2004 still looks like this Jefferson nickel as far as design. But on the reverse, I chose the Buffalo design. And this one in particular has a little bit of toning, which I absolutely love. It looks like the toning is around the center of the coin. The outside ring didn't get much of the toning, which is pretty interesting. I don't know if that means it was at the end of a tube or something, but there's even toning on the obverse here. So I'm not sure exactly how that happened. Maybe it was in a book and the edge was protected somehow. Anyway, this is a pretty nice example. Again, I found this coin roll hunting. I could easily go out and buy a brand new looking BU version of these for pretty cheap, but I like the ones that I find coin roll hunting. Next up is the modern design, and I decided to go with a 2009. So of the two 2009s, the Philadelphia had the lower mintage. This one they only made about 30 million. And I know there's also the 2024. I'm not sure what the mintages are on that or exactly which one is lower, but I don't have a 2024 example. Oh, there is a little bit of crud on that, so I may be upgrading this in the future. But I wanted to go with this 2009 design here. This is the only Philadelphia example I have of the 2009. So as soon as we get a new one, we'll go ahead and upgrade away from this dirt clump that we have up there. But this one will be going in the book. So let me go ahead and put all these nickels into this book and we can take a look at them in the book. All right, so here are the nickels that we put in. Let's go ahead and see the reverse. I like that the Buffalo nickel kind of lined up with the Buffalo design that we put in for the Westward designs there. Looks pretty good. And again, we still have our small cents in there. So we'll move on to the dimes next. All right, we have the dimes here. So we're gonna start with this 1900 barber dime. It was between this and one other barber dime, and this one had a lot more details. So as you can see, there's no Liberty. There might be a few letters there, or some remnants of letters, but we do have some design features of the leaves. And then on the reverse, you can make out some of the design features of the reef there as well. Not a great condition coin, but it is a barber dime that I have, and it is 1900, so it'll likely be the oldest coin going in this book. Then I have this nice example of a 1931 Mercury dime. I believe it's from San Francisco. You can see the S Mint down there. It's not full bands or anything, but it is a very good example. It's definitely the best one that I have. And then our Silver Roosevelt. The nicest example I have is actually a 1963. Let's see if it's from Denver. So that's the one that will be going in our book. Then I don't keep much clad coinage on hand, so this just happened to be a nice one I had on hand, we might be choosing a different year for this, and going through some boxes later, or just change that I might get at the store. I might be upgrading this later to a specific year that I'm wanting to go with. But for now, this one will fill the spot. There's only 4 dimes, so we'll go ahead and get these in the book. Okay, so now we have our dimes in place here. So again, our Mercury, the Barber, Mercury, Silver Rosie, and the Clad coin. The Barber actually kind of fell into the spot. It might have been worn a little bit too much, so it'll likely spin in here. We'll check on it in a few months or whenever we do, but likely we'll be upgrading that anyway, so that won't be an issue forever. These were a little bit more challenging to get in because it is such a smaller hole, a smaller coin, so I definitely had to be very careful to press it all the way in there without getting any fingerprints on the coin. So now we have our whole first page done. Pennies, nickels, and dimes. Next up, we have the quarters. All right, so here I have the quarters laid out, and this is where it actually gets pretty exciting. So here I have a 1914 S Barber quarter. This one happened to be the nicest condition one that I have, and it's also a semi-key date. It's something like the 3rd or 4th lowest minted Barber quarter. This coin, even in this condition, is about a $150 coin, possibly even a $200 coin. So this is going to be a great addition to my book. Let's see if we can get an idea of what the detail is. So there's still no Liberty, but there is some detail in the wreath. You can see the nice rounded jawline. On the reverse, there is a scratch right there by the eagle's wing going through the leaves or branch that he's holding. But you can see the words are legible, and there is some detail in the eagle's wings. You can see some detail in the tail, the lines going down. Someone graded this at about good. I would say this is more a good 4, maybe even a good 6. Next up, I have the Standing Liberty quarter. Again, this is just the best example that I had, but it happens to be a 1917 Type 1. So in the Type 1, there's no stars below the eagle. And as you can see, again, a scratch. That actually might be a hair. That's a hair. So you can see some detail in the eagle's feathers, as well as in between the tail and feet. On the obverse, you can see some of Lady Liberty's toes, as well as some of the beads on the lower portion of the shield. You can see on this example, the Type 1 has a beaded edge around the coin, and that is full. The grade for this one, I'd say, is either a good 8, maybe a very good 10. Next up, I have a Blast White uncirculated 1958 silver quarter. And for the bicentennial, I do have this encapsulated proof set that I'm going to be using. Next up, the clad quarters. This just happens to be the best one that I have on hand. I only had about 4 or 5 to pick from. So with this, I do have a few options. This 1995 happens to be the year I was born, so I could just stick with this or upgrade it for a nicer example of the 1995. The lowest minted in this range from 65 to 98 is actually the 68 Denver. Decently hard to find, to the fact that I don't even have one in my own personal collection, the 68 Denver. The other option is that there were no mint sets in 82 or 83, so nicer examples are harder to come by in 82 or 83. So if I find a nice one of those, I could include those in the set. Other than that, I could go with the first year or last year, the 65 or the 98. But this will take its spot for now, and I might change that later. For the states, again, I didn't have many on hand to choose from, but I do like this Massachusetts state quarter. Again, I have a couple to choose from, so I do live in Texas. I could go with the Texas state quarter, or my favorite design is actually the Oklahoma. I have the red book right here. This is my favorite design, and it also happens to be the lowest minted state quarter. So I may end up upgrading to a nice example of that Oklahoma state quarter. But again, this Massachusetts will be filling the space, and we will decide on that a later date. Next up, for the 2009, I have this Puerto Rico on hand. It's a little bit dirty, but it's the one that I have outside of any collections. So again, this one will be upgraded. For this, there's not many options. There's only 6 different designs. But the lowest minted one is the American Samoa with the palm tree and drums. So that might be a good option. Next up, I happen to have this decent condition 2019 Lowell America the Beautiful coin. I picked this one because it lined up with the Massachusetts that we're putting in for now. Again, I live in Texas, so I could easily go with the San Antonio missions of the same year, 2019. Or again, I could look into what the lowest minted one is and go with that. But my favorite design is actually the American Samoa bats. So that is also another option. Anyway, that is the 8 quarters we will be putting into our book. So I'll go ahead and put those in and be right back. Here's another quick look at the quarters we put in the book. So we have that 1914S, the 1917 Type 1, the BU 58, this bicentennial. The proof one was a lot harder to get out of the capsule than I thought it would be. So I ended up just cutting out a business strike bicentennial. This is a silver one. I cut it out of a proof or a set that we'll just go ahead and use this set instead of the proof set that I had. I didn't want any proofs in this book anyway, so I was kind of wrestling with the idea of should I cut that out or include the proof. And since the proof was so hard to open the capsule, we'll just go ahead and leave that there, and we'll cut these out. Next up, this 1995 and the Massachusetts state coin, this Puerto Rico 2009, and the Lowell 2019. So again, these bottom four will likely be upgraded pretty soon, but I don't see upgrading the Barber or the Standing Liberty anytime soon. I do want these to be ones that I cherry pick at my local coin shop, so I don't know if I'm going to be able to find any better condition ones there, especially not ones of a higher value, because this is a semi-key date and this is the type 1. But we'll see. We might be able to upgrade those eventually. So let's go ahead and move on to the half dollars. So the half dollars we have here, I have this 1908 Barber half dollar. And this one is a little bit better condition than the last. You can definitely see a lot more detail in the leaves, as well as some of the letters of Liberty coming out, almost all of Liberty there. A lot more detail in the jawline, in the ear. And then on the reverse, you can definitely see a lot more detail in the eagle's head, the leaves, and the shield. You can see the E pluribus unum and even all the beads around the edge. So again, this is a 1908 Denver. There's the Denver mint mark. So this will be a nice coin to put into our book. Next up, the nicest walking Liberty I have is this 1945. You can see all the lines in her skirt, as well as some detail in the chest plate. I'm not too sure about full head. I'd have to look into what actually counts as a full head, but I don't believe that's what we have here. On the reverse, you can see some detail in the eagle's feathers. And this is a Denver mint mark, so 1945 from Denver. Then for Franklin, we have a 1951. You can see there's still some hairlines around the ear. You can still make out the words on the bell, as well as some detail in the beam holding up the bell. I don't believe this is a full bell lines, but you can make out some of those lines on the bottom. Next up, a 1964 90% Kennedy half dollar. This one's a pretty good example. I know there's a lot of really, really nice uncirculated examples out there. But again, this is just what I've been able to cherry pick from my local coin shop. I also do have a lot of the 64s, so I tend to look more for the Franklin and Walking Liberty when I am there. Next up, the 40%. I went with a 1969 because why would I pick any other year? They only made the business strike in Denver in 1969. So this is the 40% half dollar. Next up, I'll be cutting out this 40% bicentennial. So we'll go ahead and do that now on camera. So this is also 40%. You'd see the S mint mark there. And the reverse bicentennial design. There's a bit of a smudge up there in the field, but that's all right. All right, and then last but not least, I do have this very shiny 2015, not intended for circulation. It looks like it might have been gold plated at one point, which is odd for the plating to wear, but still be in this nice of a condition. This one does weigh a little heavy, and I got it tested. It's definitely a clad, even though it does look like it has a silver edge. I believe it might have been lightly nickel plated, as well as the gold plating that has worn off. It's just an interesting example that I have, as well as it being not intended for circulation. I may decide to put a different one in this slot, but this is what's going in for now. So let's go ahead and get these $50 into our folder, and we'll come back with a look at what they look like in there. Here we have the $50 in the book. So as you can see, the Barber, Walking Liberty, Franklin, and the John F. Kennedy, all 90% silver. And then down here we have the two 40% silvers and the clad that started in 71. Let's go ahead and check out the reverses. All those eagles, look at that. All right, last but not least, we have the dollars page. All right, here I have the dollars set up. We'll go ahead and start with the Morgan. This is the best looking post-1900 Morgan that I have. This one is part of my Lisa and Chuck collection. So when I went to the coin shop, there was two coins like this. One said Lisa Ledbetter, another one said Chuck Ledbetter. And they also had two uncirculated 1971 Eisenhower dollars that also had the same names on them. I was able to get both of the Eisenhower dollars, but by the time I went back to pick up the Chuck Morgan dollar, it had already sold. So just a slight novelty for me. I think it's interesting and funny to have this Lisa and Chuck collection. So I'm going to try to honor Lisa by putting her into my typeset book. This also happens to be the nicest condition Morgan dollar that I have after 1900. I might upgrade this with the lowest minted 1900 Morgan dollar, but for now this is a very nice coin that is still with an O mint mark, so it's a great addition to this book. After that, I do have this piece dollar. This is the nicest piece dollar that I have. I do have a 1921 high relief that is the key date, but it is in horrible, horrible condition. It's possible that this one could even be of a higher value than the one that I have. It's completely beat up, ungradable, stained black, dented, possibly even bent, so it's just not a good looking coin. I don't want it in my typeset. I'll definitely have to upgrade that in any set that I put it in. So for now, we'll go with this 1926. I believe it's from San Francisco, or no, from Philadelphia. Wait, there's a mint mark there. Let's see. It is from San Francisco. So 1926 from San Francisco, that'll be going in the book. Then I cut out this 40% 1972. This is the nicest looking one that I had, so I went ahead and cut it out for this book here. 1972 from San Francisco, 40% Eisenhower dollar. We also cut out the bicentennial, so that one is also 40% silver. There's some discoloration on the rim there, but it is a silver edge. 1976 from San Francisco. After that, the Susan B. Anthony, I do have this 1999. See, is that from Philadelphia? Oh, from Denver. We may upgrade this to a nicer looking coin, or maybe even the 1979 Philadelphia wide rim once I get my hands on one of those. Then I have this Sacagawea dollar. This is a 2001 from Denver. It happened to be the one that I had on hand. And then also on hand for the presidential dollars, I went with the Abraham Lincoln. And for the Native American dollars, I only had this one on hand. I believe this is the 2010 design. I have the year right here, but it's not wanting to focus. Oh, this is a 2008, it looks like. Sorry, 2009. Might be able to catch it there. 2009 from Denver. This is the only one I had, and I did not have any of the innovation dollars. So once I get up to the point to coin roll hunting the small dollar coins, I'll definitely be upgrading probably every single one of these coins. Well, let's go ahead and put this in the book. So now we have our dollar page. That 19020, the 1926 San Francisco, the 40% 1972 and 1976 bicentennial. And then for the small dollars, we had that 1989, 2001. I didn't check the year on Abe Lincoln here, but then we do have the 2009 Native American dollar. We still need that American Innovation dollar. Let's go ahead and check out the reverses on these. Very good, nice condition eagles here. And the bicentennial. And then we do have a few more eagles and the Statue of Liberty design. I might want to flip this one around so this design is on the other side, but we'll decide that later. So that is it for my book, guys. If you really liked this content, make sure you like the video. And if you want to watch me upgrade these, I do post silver upgrades as I pick up silver coins. I also post coin roll hunts, so as we find coins to upgrade these that can be hunted, like the cents and nickels here, or any of the clad coins. As I find those in the hunts, I'll probably be posting in those videos of the upgrades. So make sure you go ahead and subscribe and watch those videos if you want to see this book get upgraded. If you know anyone that might like to watch content like this, please share the video. But most of all, thank you for watching.